that he wants to do it through. Now, did Jim Jones have a church? I would argue he had a cult. He didn't have a true church. How do I know? Because in our lessons that we're going to do in the next few weeks, we're going to see what the biblical church looks like. As a matter of fact, if you skip down to the overview, class overview, that's after point number 4. You see that where it says class overview, winter and spring studies? Do you guys see that? Mm-hmm. Towards the bottom? You're going to see that we're going to be, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to discover what our purpose is and the purpose of the church, something we've been talking about. So we're going to look at how a healthy church is built up. And a healthy church is a good church. It's the right church. It's the church that God intended church to be. So we're going to take a picture of that and see what that's like. In the next couple of minutes, we're going to get a precursor. We're going to just wrestle with it for just a little second. I might have y'all ask questions or dive in it, and I might say some challenging things, which is one of the rules I didn't tell you at the beginning of this class. One of the rules at the beginning of the class is we will always do tug-of-wars in this class. 2 things. It is a participatory class. That means you're going to have to participate. If you don't participate, it's okay, because I'm going to make you participate. You have no choice. But the second thing is, it's going to be about a tug-of-war, because I'm one of them kind of teachers, even when I teach in secular school, which I've done plenty of times before, and taught some of the toughest, quote-unquote, worst kids, the kinds who can't learn. And yet when their teachers are off, even when I substitute teach, somehow, some way, kids who weren't learning, they learn. Why? Because we do tug-of-war. We wrestle with truth.
I was going to say, some people, when they learn, they like to be, they learn and challenge.
Absolutely. I would argue that learning period takes place through challenge. The best learning does. Let's do one. Here's one that's tough that y'all just not going to be able to get. Y'all don't get to answer this. But with other classes, but you guys, let's see where you're at. Because there are some challenges. Because sometimes things that seem obvious, when you really think about it, you got to struggle to get to the right answer. So what's 2 plus 2 on Mars?
4.
2 plus 2 on Mars, where the gravitational pull is different. Exponentially, when you take into consideration all of the parameters, not just the atmosphere, not just the distance that Mars is away and its placement in the universe, but even its timing, when you look at all of those effects, and we know exponential gets like the power, 10 and power, all that kind of stuff. You look at the derivatives and all that. The question is, what is 2 plus 2 on Mars? Why would you say that?
All that has no factor in
Crazy.
gravitational pull, and all that has nothing to do with addition.
What do you think? What do you think 2 plus 2 is on Mars?
I'm stuck on that one. I'm still thinking.
Okay, good. Good. Thank you. You say, I've never ever had a class where the class got the answer right. Usually only 1 or 2 people might stay staunch, but the majority of people in the class will say, you know, it's 5, or it's 5,000, or it's 1, or it's -1, or whatever. When 2 plus 2 anywhere in the universe is 4! I don't care. It's always 4. 2 of this and 2 of that is 4. Which is good. I'm glad you saved today because you were struggling. And the reality is when we learning is like that, because guess what he had to go, he had to say, here I'm saying exponential and derivative, and it didn't faze him because he was like, well, I ain't got nothing to do with that. And because even you said right at the beginning, you said, well, it's still 4 and whatever. But the reality is I kept pushing it and pushing it so that you had to deal with the fact that, do I really know what I think I know what I know? Because if the rest of the folks started saying stuff, then you got to, and good. The reality is that learning, when you really want to get it right, the challenge is to get it right. And sometimes to get it right is just simply being right. And knowing that you're right and sticking on it. Of course, I knew you were right because what you said is true. You know, it's always true. And what happens, but this happens in learning. You're going to find that. That's how Jim Jones got them to drink the Kool-Aid. Because they weren't really challenged to learn the truth. And that's what we're going to do in this class. We're going to always. What happens to babies when they die?
We don't know.
Yeah, see, you've been to the class. You know. You know the answer is, I don't know. Because God hasn't told us everything. Now, you can believe that God takes him to heaven, or he's got a special baby place, or whatever, because he's a loving God. That's fine. God is loving. But he just chose not to tell us the answer to that particular question. Period. Okay, but anyway, so I said that for a reason, you know. What happens when you take one step?
Closer to the destination.
Good answer.
Wait, what you say?
Closer to your destination.
That's a great answer. The reason why I said that is because there's cliches in the church that says you take one step, God will take, yeah, he'll take two. Right. And so that is an unbiblical concept. I mean, sometimes it's true that God will do it, but sometimes it ain't true. Because there's some stuff that God says you don't get to take any steps. And that starts with salvation. There's no steps you can take in salvation other than to be convicted, realize you have sin in your life, realize you need God to save you, and beg God to save you. And then when he does save you, by the way, it's not you doing it, God does it. He's the one that saves you, turns your life, whatever. Now, because he's done that, now you can do some stuff. But you're going to do it because he saved you. Okay, but anyway, as you'll see, we'll have time to go over all that. Okay, good. So we got a picture of what on earth am I here for? Does God, we don't even have to answer that question, does God even care? Because I think we all realize, with all stuff going on, God, of course, he does care. Because he saved us. And I think we're going to get a better picture of why we are here. Part of the vision of this ministry is to bring the unchurched together, is to evangelize. That is to go out and witness to go out fishing like Jesus said. He said, I'm going to make you fishers of men, meaning humankind. And he wants us to go and tell so people can come and see. He wants us to go and tell folk about this good thing that God has done and say, come on and see. It's happening over here in community. This is a place where you can get answers to your question. This is a place where you can get right with God. This is a place where you can get saved.
Let me ask you this. How many times have you seen don't tell it on the mountain as a kid or whatever in church but never really thought about it for what it meant?
Right. Right. I know, isn't that amazing?
Wow.
They just not hitting that.
Right. And folk are singing it now. I know the church that I'll be playing that on Sunday, doing the music for, they're going to be singing that song. Right. But isn't that amazing that not only have we been instructed to go and tell, and to so let our light shine and to attract people and to have a mind of mission and a mind of evangelism to share with folk. Can you imagine that over half of the people in this world are already headed to hell, are unsaved? And there are how many? There's over 6 billion people on this planet. That means there are a ton of folk that need to, including a few 100 million here in the United States of America. At least 100 million that are on their way to hell. So do you think there's a reason for you to be here? I would say that part of the reason for you to be here is because God wants to use you in some way to reach those who are dying. Because I read someplace in the Bible where it says God's not slack according to his promise, but he wants, he's not being slow on you know, because he's slackful. He's being slow because he wants everybody to get saved. He really does. He wants everybody to get saved. Other than maybe 1 or 2 people, I'm going to ask God, pray to God to heal you of that you want to see go to hell. Don't you really want to see everybody go to heaven? You don't really want to see anybody go to hell, do you? Maybe that just one. Well, we're going to work on that. Okay. All right. Let's look at, so we're going to talk more, like I said, about the vision. I'm going to pass you guys some stuff out in the weeks to come. But I want us to begin to think about that. But we're going to look more at the purpose of this ministry. That is, we're going to focus first on looking at what is the church and what is our role in it. Okay? And tell Sean, if you don't mind, since you got a Bible, can you turn to Corinthians 3:16? 1 Corinthians. And Shanice, can you turn to 1 Corinthians 6:19?
You said 1 Corinthians what?
Yeah, 1 Corinthians 3:16 and 1 Corinthians 6:19. And use your table of contents. If you're not sure where 1 Corinthians is at, you got yeah, I got one. I'm going to give you, Brother Dennis, 6th chapter, 19th verse. Right. And I'm going to give you the honored scripture Acts 42.
2, 42 and 47.
Yeah, there you go. That's it. That's what I was looking for. I think Acts is in the Bible too, somewhere.
Is it in there somewhere?
It's in there. I saw it the other day. Oh, you know why I can't find it? I'm in the wrong
I
one.
hope we have a large print Bible.
Oh, you're right.
No, I can.
You think you can do it?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll get Charlize.
I got terrible vision.
I'll get Charlize to cover you. This one is actually small. You might want to read it in the NIV on that side. That's King James, but read it in the NIV. It's a little easier to read. Can you see that? Okay, we're going to look at 1 Corinthians 3:16 first. The purpose of this ministry as it relates to the church. Okay, go ahead, tell Sean, you got that one.
Alright, 1 Corinthians 3:16.
Everybody else listen up.
Don't you realize that all of you together are the temple of God and the Spirit of God lives in you?
Y'all heard that loud and clear? 1 Corinthians 3:16 says almost the exact same thing 1 Corinthians 6:19 says, but the difference between the two is in the 3rd chapter of Corinthians, they're talking about the church. I'm going to ask you in a minute what the church is, but all of us have our idea. But they're saying that whatever the church is, God dwells in it. Everybody with me on that? That's one of the purposes of the church is for God to dwell in it. What does 1 Corinthians 6:19 say?
Do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own.
That's it. That's it. So God, this is the believer now that they're calling the temple. The church they were calling the temple in terms of it being a dwelling place of God. Now they're saying your own body. You get that, Cecile? Your body. God's living in it. You get that, Charlisa? God's living in your body. Matter of fact, in that same passage, it even says, either before or after, it says, so what in the world you got yourself, why are you tying yourself to a gigolo? Why are you whoring around? And I live in your body. It's bad enough you cheating on your husband. Stop it, Charlisa. Leave that gigolo alone. Okay, the last verse refers to actually the building of community. And we're going to start winding it up for this. I told you I was only going to get to a third of this stuff. But let's listen to him as he reads Acts, the 2nd chapter, the 42, right? 42 to 47. This is the two together, the church and the believers. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, struggle with me. Okay, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe, and many wonders and miracles, miraculous signs were done by the apostles. All the believers were together and had devoted and had everything in common, selling their possessions and goods. They gave to anyone as he had need. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their houses and ate together with glad, sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved.
Wow.
Wow.
That is our theme verses for all of this. It is going to be our theme verse for months and years and years. Matter of fact, forever. Why? Because, y'all, that was the first church. That's how they really did church when they were doing church the way God wanted church to be done. And if you listen to anything that he said, they were together, they had unity, they looked out for each other, they loved each other, they studied the word together, they did together. The church is about being together. Before we wrap up this lesson, I'm going to ask y'all a question, all right? And then I'm just going to share briefly with you